On October 22, 2018, the first episode of a sports anime called Tsurune airs on television. People from all over Japan become quick fans of this show. It is about a young man who loses his passion for archery. Episode 5 airs on television, and there's a particular scene that plays for about 2 minutes and 25 seconds that you can easily find on YouTube. The scene features two of the characters that go into a grocery store buying discounted meat. In the grand scale of the story, this scene doesn't really particularly play a big part in it and can be easily forgotten by most casual users. However, if you do manage to find this on YouTube, the first comment that you'll probably see is that this tends to be the darkest scene in anime. And they were right. Little would anyone have known while watching this episode that 8 months later after its release, this simple 2-minute and 25-second innocent scene would have been the catalyst for the anime industry's darkest moment in its entire history, and in Japan's modern history. Hey friends, Taki Dears, and today I wanted to discuss something about an event that I'm sure many of us remember from 2019 when a very famous animation studio, Kyoto Animation, which is responsible for many anime films and anime series that we all know and love, was unfortunately victims at the hands of a man named Shinji Aoba, who was an arsonist that went into the studio, poured gasoline, and took the lives of over 36 of its staff members, making this one of, if not the worst mass murder in not only the anime industry, but in Japan's modern history. Now, again, this happened in 2019, and many of you may be wondering, why am I making a video about it so many years later? That is because as of January 2025, this year, this chapter has been officially closed due to some updates, and I figured that now that it's officially closed, that I explain some things that I was researching of the motivation behind the attack up to what was going on behind the scenes, and some conversations that were going on between the arsonist and some people that were around the case. So let's just go into the very beginning with Shinji Aoba and what drove him to do what he did. So Shinji Aoba was a crazed otaku who was obsessed with anime, and he submitted a novel to a competition that is run by Kyoto Animation, where they look for several people all around Japan to submit novels and to submit ideas that could potentially be part of their projects, whether it be anime series or films. And according to Shinji Aoba, he decided to submit his novel into this competition. Now, cut to, an anime comes out called Tsurune, and I personally have never seen this anime, but there's apparently a scene that is about 2 minutes and 25 seconds long where there are two characters at a grocery store buying discounted meat. Now, when I first saw this scene, to be honest, there's not really anything in this scene that stuck out to me. It's really just two kids that are buying discounted meat, and it's a very basic kind of conversation that doesn't last very long in the anime, and it's actually very forgettable. But unfortunately, the man Shinji Aoba would disagree heavily. He was convinced that this specific scene was taken from his anime, which infuriated him so much that he wanted to take out his frustrations and resentment on Kyoto Animation and everyone in it. Now, this next part will go into the graphic detail of what happens. Aoba buys 40 liters of gasoline from a gas station a few days before the attack. He rents a car to transport the gasoline in 2 large containers. He bought lighters and kitchen knives, which were possibly used for self-defense or further attacks. Now, around 10:30 a.m., on July 18, 2019, Aoba arrived at Kyoto Animation Studio 1. He forced his way through the front entrance where many employees were working. Upon entering, he shouted the word "Die." and started pouring gasoline around the lobby. Alba ignited the gasoline using a lighter. The gasoline vaporized rapidly, causing a fireball explosion and engulfed the entire first floor almost instantly. The fire spread up the stairwell due to the chimney effect, trapping many employees on the upper floors. Many employees tried to run upstairs but got trapped due to the rapid spread of fire and smoke. 36 people lost their lives, with many found near the stairwells and windows where they had tried to escape. 33 others were injured, including severe burns and respiratory injuries. Alba himself suffered third-degree burns but survived. Some people who were near the back exit managed to escape before the fire blocked the way. Those on higher floors attempted to break windows and jump, while others collapsed from smoke inhalation. Only a few employees survived on the third floor by reaching the rooftop, but the fire consumed most of the building before others could escape. Alba was arrested after months of medical treatment and later sentenced to death in January 2024. Kyoto Animation lost decades of talented animators, including industry veterans and young rising stars. The studio later rebuilt and continued producing anime, honoring those who lost their lives. Now, during the investigation, one of the most interesting things that happened through this was that Kyoto Animation was looking through their submissions for the competition, and turned out that Shinji Alba never actually submitted his novel into the competition, leading a lot of the people from Kyoto Animation wondering, how did he make this claim that we took his idea if his idea was never submitted in the first place, which led to detectives kind of determining that he was just stuck in his own delusions and somehow convinced himself that Kyoto Animation stole his idea anyway and thought that this was worth taking people's lives over. Also, in 2020, Kyoto Animation made a statement regarding the writing contest and how it would be put off for the time being. But since then, there hasn't been any signs that it's going to be held again. However, Kyoto Animation still has a comic contest for their fans to still participate in. Now again, this is a very long and drawn out trial due to also the treatment for Shinji Alba's wounds. And during this, it actually turns out that there were some private conversations between him and the doctor who was treating him that I kind of wanted to read out to you guys.
ちょっと嫌な気はしましたけど、もしかしたらと思ったら、やっぱりそうだった。犠牲になられた方、それとご家族と被害に遭われた方とそのご家族のためには、死に逃げさせてはいけないっていう、もうその思いが強くって、もう絶対容疑者を死なしちゃいけないっていう、もうそれだけです。
Alba underwent multiple skin graft surgeries and under treatment for around 4 months. Dr. Ueda visited him every few months for treatments. Unlike in the hospital, however, Ueda was unable to have even simple conversations with Alba in the detention center, where officers accompanied him. As the trial was set to begin, Dr. Ueda told Alba something he had really wanted to say. You may face harsh and difficult things ahead, but don't look away. Face them. Alba didn't give a clear response. The trial then begins in September. While treating the patient, Dr. Ueda could not directly ask him about the incident, but he now understands why Alba said during the treatment, quote, "I'm not worthy of living. Have you ever been betrayed? Taking lives is absolutely unforgivable, even if you were betrayed." Now, the following that you're about to hear is a conversation between Shinji Alba and the families of the victims during the trial. I am the mother of a female employee who died. There's something I want to confirm once more. When you poured gasoline, 2 female employees said, What? There's no mistake about that. One of the female employees you saw is likely my daughter. You poured gasoline all over the place, but did you see whether it got on the 2 women? No, I did not. You poured it with such force that it splashed on surrounding employees. I think it probably did. When you shouted, Die, were you addressing all the employees, including my daughter? That is correct. My daughter, who burned to death, had just joined the company and was assigned to Studio One in June, only a month before the incident. She joined after the anime you claimed was plagiarized was already created. Did you ever consider that employees like her would be there? I'm sorry, I didn't think that far ahead. Alba believed that he was interacting with a female director at Kyoto Animation through an anonymous message board on 2chan, and he developed a one-sided romantic attachment to her. However, after being mocked on the board as a rapist by the supposed female director, he became reckless and further claimed that despite his novel being rejected from the Kyoto Animation Awards, the company and the female director had stolen his ideas, which led him to commit the crime. You mentioned hesitating before committing the crime and feeling pains of conscience. Did you not think about the victims at all? My mind was entirely consumed with my own 10 years of suffering. I didn't have the mental space to consider the victims. What exactly do you mean by pangs of conscience? Since I was going to do something of this scale, naturally, significant people were going to die. Did you ever consider things from the victim's perspective? Let me ask you in return. When someone steals from you, do you stop to consider them? Right now, you are not in a position to ask questions. I was called a rapist. Does Kyoto Animation not feel anything about that? Before your 2012 convenience store robbery, you considered suicide. What did you mean in your online post when you wrote about, quote, disappearing? It meant cutting all human ties and starting over somewhere else. That was never an option for you before you committed this crime? Are you telling me to hurry up and die? Did you truly have those feelings inside of you? I must have, or else I wouldn't have written that. Yet, instead of disappearing, you committed the crime. Does that mean your grudge against Kyoto Animation was stronger? I believe I did my best to prevent the worst case scenario. Why did you think you could win the Kyoto Animation Award by submitting your novel? Someone who seemed like a top editor on 2chan responded with, quote, I've seen something amazing, and even asked how I would use the prize money. That made me believe I would win. Did you ever consider that work might not be good enough? No, I didn't. How did you feel when no one read your work on a novel submission site? It's not about whether the work is good enough. On those sites, gaining views depends on having a fan base and building connections with them, rather than creating something high quality. You were an experienced 2chan user. Did you know that that platform has a lot of impersonators? Yes, I used to use it. You said you were certain that the female director was personally responding to you. Did you ever suspect that it was just an impersonator tricking you? On 2chan, there's a term called trolling. When you accuse someone directly, they tend to dismiss it if they're a real person. Since she responded in that manner, I was sure it was her. I think it's quite clear to everyone who heard this trial that Alba's sympathy extended the length of a teaspoon.
怒られたとかっていうような言葉も使ってたような、自分が悪いんじゃなくて、何かこう被害者的なものの言い方をしてたように聞こえました。
Even after taking so many lives from Kyoto Animation and hearing the families, Alba remained convinced that he was still in the right and the victim in all of this. Now, on a separate article, I wanted to read the apology that was read by Shinji Alba in court. I can only say, I'm sorry. I take the incident seriously, but to be honest, I can't deny that I often turn a blind eye to the magnitude of what I did. I think I should pay for my crime with that. Now, at this point, it's 2023, and reading that apology, it doesn't sound like that Shinji Alba at this point was really accepting what he did fully. It didn't really seem like he was grasping the magnitude of what he did. I think a lot of that probably is thanks to the doctor pushing him. It might have been very possible that Shinji Alba would have not given any sort of apology at all. Before setting the animation studio on fire, Alba had apparently hesitated, wondering whether he should proceed with the attack. Ueda imagines Alba must have reached to that fateful day while bottling up his worries. Now, the following is the last thing that the doctor says with Shinji Alba. What if I had told you not to commit the crime? The doctor asks during treatment. Alba then replies, I don't think I would have done it.
京都アニメーション放火殺人事件の裁判で、京都地裁は先ほど青葉真司被告に対し死刑判決を言い渡しました。
Shinji Alba, at 46 years old, was sentenced to death in January 2024 by the Kyoto District Court as sought out by the prosecution. He was convicted of murdering 36 people and attempting to murder 34 others in the arson attack at the studio in Kyoto on July 2019. However, immediately, Shinji Alba's legal team decided to push back and request for the judge to reconsider, claiming Shinji Alba as insane and not in the right frame of mind during the attack. This added over a year's worth of more tedious and scheduled trials. Now let's go back to what the doctor said to Shinji Alba in private. He said, you may face harsh and difficult things ahead, but don't look away. face them. Would you say that the doctor's words might have gotten to Shinji Aoba? That maybe he's taking some sort of responsibility by accepting the death penalty and getting what he deserves? If this doctor really could have affected Shinji Aoba to accept the death penalty, who's to say that maybe in a different time or a different life with the right person, somebody else could have convinced Shinji Aoba to not do what he did and commit this heinous crime? I'm really glad that justice actually was served here. And as for the victims' families, I really do hope that they have found some peace in this world through all of this. And I also praise Kyoto Animation that they've managed to come back from all of this and stand up on their own 2 feet, still giving us some really great anime. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to check out some more content like this, I have made a few videos about true crime and other dark parts about Japan if you guys want to check that out on my channel. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!